It's crazy. And then you have to tell all the people. And then I haven't gotten my debit card yet because it's now in Kansas and it's freezing there. So it's on delay.
Yep.
Wow.
I love that because I feel that way on a plane. I like to be on the aisle seat.
I do too.
More than, being inside. This way, if I need to get out quicker, I can. I know it's very different scenarios.
Well, I would say lack of situational awareness, not being aware, and also not using the gift of fear. That's one of my favorite books, The Gift of Fear.
Hello, everybody.
And welcome. Boy, we miss you.
I
don't
know.
know. It feels like a really long time.
It does. I think because of the holidays and everything that's family.
Yeah.
Happy New Year to everybody out there.
Yeah, we only wish good for 2025.
Peace and safety and health.
What about love?
Health
and love.
And love.
Okay.
And of course, we're, sending out our thoughts and prayers to California.
Yes, please. We
stay safe, and we pray that the winds move and all will
die down, and then they start to. It's so devastating, but they will start to, I'm sure, rebuild. I think so. Anyhow, I don't know.
So thoughts and prayers to everybody there.
Really, it's like, what would you take?
I know. Well, they're used to, winds and fires, but they have a plan.
You had to evacuate, what would you take?
My passport, documentation, everything that is very important that you need for your identity.
Yep, and pictures.
Social security, all of that, all of that important information. And it's so perfect because we have a perfect guest coming on that could share more about all of certain things we're talking about. She'll go deeper into that. We're going to introduce her in a minute, but we're happy to see you. I am Alicia Schwartz. We are the mother-daughter dynamic duo.
And I am Coach Rochelle Schwartz. We have been coaching for over 27 years. That's a long time.
Yeah, and this 2025, we've got some great programs coming forth that we'll share more and more as we get closer to launching them.
We also do a self-discovery call for a half hour, and also come to our YouTube channel and sign up.
Everything is relationship, and that's who we are. All about relationship,
all about
with self and others. Okay.
So I'm just going to read something quickly, and then we're going to bring our guest on, and she's going to rock this house. I know it. So here we go. This is called Journey to the Heart. And this is what I picked out for this evening. Love means each person is free to follow his or her own heart. Seek his or her own path. If we truly love, our choices will naturally and freely serve that love well. When we give freedom to another, we really give freedom to ourselves. That's the truth.
Beautiful, Roche.
Thank you so much.
So we have an amazing guest that she's going to introduce herself, and we are so excited and thrilled because Carrie is an amazing woman with a wealth of important information for the world. So she's going to share more about that. So we're going to bring Carrie. There she is.
Hello. So wonderful to be here with you ladies.
Oh my God. So nice to be with you. We met a little while ago, but it feels like a very long time since we really know you on some deeper level. So
tell us a little bit about, you do such incredible work. And I think especially today, what you do
is so needed.
Imperative. It's needed. It's imperative. So why don't you tell us a little bit about you and everything
everything you do and what you're all about.
Wonderful.
We'll ask you some powerful questions.
So as you said, my name is Carrie. It's Carrie Pasquarello. I'm the CEO and founder of Global Secure Resources. I'm a victim advocate and also a safety strategist. And I've built my career on helping individuals and people all over the world, organizations and so many different types of groups really navigate safety challenges to minimize risk.
Mm.
And really to address these various safety gaps that every single person has, I co-developed a individual travel assessment plan with a top international law enforcement safety expert. And this particular tool is called the ITAP, and it's a comprehensive tool covering 15 critical things you should know before you go, because I focus a lot on travel safety.
Mm.
And this might include the crime statistics, civil unrest,
Are you there,
terrorism,
Carrie?
lodging safety,
Hello.
environmental
Yeah,
issues.
we're having a little
And
freeze
I'm
moment.
also the author of Study Abroad
Carrie?
Safety, a parent's guide to sending your
Oh
child
no,
abroad.
we can't hear you.
And I think
You're
I just
frozen in
lost you.
time. Oh, great.
Did I
Well,
lose
we
you
can see your
guys?
mouth.
I think I might.
Ah.
Well, I have to tell you
All
that my
right.
passion
Well,
is
Carrie,
empowering
we
people
can't
to
hear
feel
you,
confident
so
and
hopefully
secure
you'll
wherever they are,
get
at
this
home,
and
at work, or
you'll
when
click
traveling.
out and then come back in.
So
We can't hear
I am
you.
not sure.
Okay,
Oh,
so Carrie, you
Lost you
there?
guys.
Oh my God, that's
okay.
so weird. We lost you for like a moment in time. You froze.
Oh,
So,
geez.
yeah, so repeat that because I don't think everybody, we got that you're a risk and strategize
Right.
safety and all of
Yeah.
that. And then you said you do risk assessments. I think
Oh,
that's
right. Okay. So once again, I will just start off from the very beginning. Okay. So I'm the CEO of Global Secure Resources. I'm a victim advocate and a strategist. I built my career on helping organizations and individuals navigate safety and really to address the different safety gaps that so many people have in this world. I co-developed a individual travel assessment with a top international law enforcement safety expert. This is a comprehensive tool covering 15 critical things you should know before you go, such as crime, terrorism, civil unrest, hotel safety, health, environment, things like that. And also, I'm the author of a book, Study
Yay!
Abroad. So not only am I keeping CEOs and families safe, but I'm also focusing on the most vulnerable of our travelers, which are our students.
So
Yeah.
so true. Yeah. And so like for my mom was asking like for people in
My
California,
granddaughter.
wait,
Oh,
people in California, do you talk about like safety risks like that, hurricanes, fires, what you should take, what
Yes.
you do?
So
Yeah.
when it's predictable, it's preventable. So we already knew that California was a lot of fires can happen in those regions. It's hot. There's a lack of water,
Right.
um, and unfortunately, there have been a lot of undergrowth. And that has not been cleared out in a lot of California areas, which is just tinder ready to explode with fires. And
Mhm.
unfortunately, and I'm originally from California, and
Wow.
it breaks my heart. I was in touch with some of my friends that are there in the Los Angeles area, Santa Monica, and
Mm.
it's just devastating. But one thing that I did see was a lot of backups on the roads with the cars trying to escape. And
Yes.
one of the things that we always say, whether it's a hurricane, whether it's a weather related snowstorm, get out early. If you
Yeah,
think something's happening, get out early. People had to get out and abandon their cars
I
and
saw
just
that.
run away from the fires. And this is so heartbreaking.
I
So
know.
we need to be proactive, prepared, and protected. We need to have a go bag. We need to be able to get out before something
Yeah.
catastrophic like this happens,
Yeah.
unfortunately. And sometimes you can't.
Yep. Yep.
Right?
yeah.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, it
terrible.
is. So, and that's why this, what you do is so
Yes.
imperative. So, let's speak a little bit more about, people abroad, like
Sure.
students,
Oh,
Sure.
yeah.
students
Students who go
abroad,
abroad.
or
One
college, or,
And a lot of my safety strategies that I teach are really for the CEO all the way down to the student. So, one of the classes I teach is situational awareness, how to prevent preventable crimes from happening, right? So, making sure that you understand you're more vulnerable out when you don't have situational awareness. And, so, it's funny because I teach a lot of students and parents for online safety as well as physical safety. And one of the things that I always say is, you have to be aware about what is in your environment. And we have to have one of my very favorite books is The Gift of Fear, and it's completely connected to your intuition. And
Mm.
intuition is such a valuable resource that each and every one of us has, and we can develop it. So I have two strategies to help develop this. It's the 2 R's and the baseline check. So they're exercises that kind of get people thinking about how to close their safety gap with their environment.
So,
So
what would be one of the most important things if you could? I mean, I don't even know if you can choose one,
yeah,
but what would be one of the things that you would tell the kids, the high, college or parents, as
yeah,
far as abroad
right.
safety?
Yeah. Well, a lot of times we talk about hotel safety, dorm safety. So there's simple strategies and tools that we have because we work with strategies, tools, and techniques, right?
Okay.
So this is one of the tools that we have. It's simple. It can go in your carry-on bag, but it's a doorstop with an alarm because we know sometimes even when students move into new dorms, they might have a dorm roommate. The roommate might invite friends back to their house that they're not really familiar with. They feel a little
Mhm.
unsafe. They can pull out something like that. Another thing I always say is have little tools like this. This is a GPS locator. So if you're in a situation where you're jogging, you're out running, you're in your dorm, and something happens, and you don't want to grab your phone and call for help because you know perhaps a criminal might hit that phone out of your hand, you can
Right.
push this SOS button, and this will
Mm.
send your GPS location to your emergency contact. It could be your family, your friends, whoever. And
Wow.
another thing is this, it's the same thing. It's jewelry, but it's a GPS beacon, emergency beacon. Simple strategies and tools like that.
Wow.
Another thing that we see is, for instance, with our travelers, our students, you might have to charge your cell phone up on the go. And
Right.
we have these little things, they're called data blockers. And you put your charge cable into this, and this way you can prevent malware from getting into your computer, malware getting into your cell phones, because that's another hazard that's out there. Criminals set up juice stations for people to charge their devices, but they have
Wow.
malware. So these
Wow.
are all little simple things. Another thing I always tell students and all travelers is protect your passport. Protect
Yeah.
your passport. We have this thing called a stash band, and it's just a stretchy a band that goes underneath your clothes, but you can put your passport in that because we have over 300,000 passports lost and stolen each and every year.
Wow.
Wow.
Now, if
That's
you're over in Italy, you're over in Asia, and you lose your passport, that's going to take time and money to get it replaced. You're not going to be able to leave the country. And so I always say when I have a stash band, I put a credit card, my passport, my cell phone. If all my luggage is stolen, no worries. I can still get a taxi, a hotel, and get the heck out of the country if I need,
That's good.
that's
right?
brilliant.
And
Yes.
without that passport, I'm going to have to make my way over to the embassy. I'm going to have to make an appointment. I'm going to have to pay for the fees to get a new one. I might have to get a hotel in the area because I have to stay for a few extra days, whatever it may be. But that's a waste of time, energy, and effort that we could prevent because I'm really into preventative
I love
strategies.
it. I love it. I
So now,
love it.
how do these people get these products?
Yeah.
Uh,
Like,
So, for instance, in my book, I write out all the list of all the things that you should have, and you can find them on Amazon. For instance, like this, it's like $10 for this fabulous door alarm.
I
You know,
love that. Yeah.
and and one other thing is, I always say, as soon as somebody comes into a hotel or you're traveling overseas, never open the door to a stranger. This is a huge lesson. It's part of the motivation of why I even started Global Secure Resources. And this was I was living overseas. I spent 12 years over there, and I had my 3 children overseas with me. I had a child in every grade from first grader to a graduating senior. That's how long I was over there.
Wow.
Now,
Wow.
my daughter went to a study abroad program in Egypt while we were in Asia.
Hmm.
And we prepared her before she went with all the strategies, tools, and techniques she needed. And one of them I know saved her life because
Wow.
while she was in a hotel in Egypt, there was a man that knocked on her door. He said he was with maintenance and he was there to fix her air conditioner. Now, The strategy I taught her was you always call the front desk. If somebody knocks on your door and you're not expecting them, you always call the front desk. She called down to the front desk. She said, "Did you send maintenance?" And they said, "No, we didn't." That
Wow.
saved her life
He's got the
because
tools.
nobody would lie about who they are and why they're there unless they're a criminal. This is called the cold call technique. And the whole idea is being able to identify scams and crimes overseas so that you can be protected yourself. But the only way we can really protect our travelers is if we have this conversation, a conversation, right? Yeah, a conversation about safety. And that's my
Wow.
favorite thing to do.
So what was I going to say about that? There was something I was just going to say, and I just lost my trend of thought.
Well,
About it'll come back to me. But go ahead.
so
What were you going to
Yeah.
say?
I love all the techniques. I think it's one of the most, especially today, one of the most important
Oh, I
things.
know what I was going to say.
Go
What
ahead.
about people getting into your accounts,
Mm,
right? Like your
like
bank
me.
account. Something just happened
Just
to her
happened to me.
recently, and she didn't know it was going on since December 21st. We caught it later on,
Right.
but how, and it wasn't anything she did. They just, is there anything that you say about that?
Well, I do a whole program about preventing scams. And scams are huge. It's a huge business. Over the last 5 years, we've lost $37 billion in America to scams. And a lot of these are facilitated by criminals who are doing social engineering. They're getting you to click on something. They're getting into
Correct.
your accounts in a malicious way. And what's interesting is I always talk about the four top signs that it's a scam, and that is pressure, emotions, making you pay, and keeping a secret. So oftentimes people are trying to trick you into getting into your accounts. They might send you an email that looks legitimate, but we have, certain things that you can do to find out if it's legitimate. And one of our favorite is just hover over the email address and find out if it's actually coming from a company. So if Netflix is sending you a letter saying, "Oh my God, you're going to lose out on your whole entire account. You're going to be locked out unless you give us your credit card information right now." That's making you get some pressure into doing something. Oftentimes people might follow through and fill out that information, and it wasn't Netflix. This happens all the time. Now, as I mentioned, over the last 5 years, we lost $37 billion. Every single year it goes up and up and up. So this past year, we lost over $12 billion. And that
Wow.
was a big jump from the year before. So I always like to read the IC3 FBI report about scams and what the top scams are to be preventative. We need to know the risk to avoid the risk. And that's where we're at. That's how we can make the biggest change in our safety is understanding what those risks are out there. And scams are
Wow.
a big one. And I'm so sorry that you had this happen to you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
crazy.
it's crazy. And then you have to tell all the people. And then I haven't gotten my debit card yet because it's now in Kansas and it's freezing there, so it's on delay. So
Oh,
it's just been horrible.
Yeah.
And it's all coming from Facebook. And there's not one thing I haven't ever bought anything.
really? So they're very clever.
They
And
are.
what's interesting is even in that scam, when we talk about that $12 billion
Mhm.
that we just lost last year, human trafficking is actually involved with this type of scam. They do human trafficking with work. Okay, so they're taking individuals, they're offering them a job overseas. As soon as they
Wow.
get there, they take their passport and they might put them inside a building and force them to work. It's forced labor. And in that forced labor camp, they have to make a certain amount of calls every single day to scam people. If they don't earn enough
You
money
there?
scamming people, well, then they might not be able to have food. They might be beaten. So just the human trafficking part of scams is really horrible because not only are they scamming people, but they themselves are being used and abused. And so human trafficking is a terrible issue within our world.
Wow. So I have a question. What has been the biggest lesson that you learned about yourself through everything in your life?
I would have to say, it's so important to look at failures as challenges. I think that's the biggest thing. You know, through life, we have trials and tribulations and we go through things. Don't be depressed if you fail at something because you're
Mm,
out there doing something. It's so important to take those failures, turn it into, just have to reframe it.
Yeah,
I
mhm.
think
I
that's
love
the
that.
biggest, and really reframe it into a challenge and go back and do it again.
Yeah. And when there's a failure, supposedly, I don't even know if failure is the right thing because you did try, but it is also a motivator because it makes you even more determined to look at that and see, well, what do I need to do differently?
Yeah.
You
Hello?
know what I'm saying?
Oh no. Oh, you're frozen. So crazy. You there, Carrie? No.
I don't know what's happening.
I
I
Um,
don't
don't
know,
know.
but
I
that's
have
so
all my
weird.
bars over here. I have
Yeah,
all
That's
my
so
bars.
crazy.
did you hear what I had to say? That failure about that,
Yeah.
it's something like a motivator for you to look and see, okay, this didn't work. Well, I'll go this way. Do you know what I'm saying? So,
Yes,
yeah.
And
absolutely.
and so if you were going to give someone the best advice in life, Carrie, what would it be?
I would say continue learning. Learning is one of the best things we can do throughout our life. And one of the things I love to do is share how to, I'm a teacher. I teach a lot of programs, right? So I just say continuously learn. I'm constantly online doing something to better myself, whether it's with languages or some type of soft skill, a hard skill. I love that. And I have a wonderful thing for your audience.
Wow.
It's called edX. And edX is a phenomenal way to take classes. And edX is free to everybody around the world. edX puts classes on by Harvard, by MIT, by Yale, by all the top universities around the world. And years ago, they decided, this is, we have such fabulous education, universities. We have to share it with everybody. And so they started this program called edX. You can get it anywhere in the world as long as you have the internet, and you can take every single class. I mean, so many different classes you can imagine. Because I'm into like terrorism and all these things,
Right.
Sure.
I took a terrorism and counterterrorism class from Georgetown. I mean, it was amazing.
Wow. So let me ask you a question. So like the New Orleans thing from New Year's Eve, right? Do you like when something happens like that, do you come into the picture or how does that, because you have such I mean,
Skills and
skills and tools for
Right.
things like this, for that to be not, for that not to happen.
Well,
So
and it's
I'm curious.
interesting because oftentimes I talk about terrorism and vehicle ramming is a way that terrorists are using because they don't need to have a gun. A car is
right.
very easy to get. Okay, then we found out that this was an electric vehicle, which was a lot more quiet. So once again, it goes into situational awareness. And also, I have a link for it's a 30-minute presentation on vehicle rammings, how to mitigate the risk when you're in a big crowd. So we've
Wow.
had a lot of issues with big crowds, like even in South Korea, what was it, a couple Halloweens ago, where they had the too many people in the streets
Yeah.
and the trampling and
Yes.
so one of the things I always talk about with individuals, no matter where you are, if you're in a gigantic crowd, it's better to be on the outside of the crowd
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
always know what's behind you. You have to have situational awareness.
Yep.
Wow.
I love that
Yeah,
because I feel that way on a plane. I'd like to be on the aisle
I
seat
do too.
more than, being inside. This way, if I need to get out quicker, I can. I know it's very different scenarios, but
No, but it's true. Like,
you
to
know,
be able to get off or out faster, it's important. But that's another thing is when you're on an airplane and there is an emergency, please don't take your bags. Just get off. I mean, that's one of the worst things when there's an emergency and people are trying to get their overhead luggage.
right?
Get in trouble for doing that. Yeah, don't do
Now,
that. Get off. Get off.
what's the biggest mistake you have seen that's been kind of obvious, but most people
Don't know.
don't see it, let's say, in a scenario? Like, I'm just curious, what do you run into the
Well,
most?
I would say lack of situational awareness, not being aware, and also not using the gift of fear. That's one of my favorite books, The Gift of Fear, and it talks about intuition, and you need to grow your intuition. And
Yeah.
it's sort of like even with children, we can help them grow their intuition by playing I Spy with My Little Eye. Okay, so we're starting off with our younger children so that they're not looking at their cell phone
Mhm.
all the time. We need to be more engaged with the world. And if I
Yeah.
had one piece of advice for parents, I would say get rid of, set aside the electronics and let the children absorb what's in their area, in their environment. Have the conversations with them. This is
Yeah.
what's going to grow us with our hearts, right? Because we're connecting and we're not just this, looking at our cell phones. We have a lot of selfie deaths because people are looking at their cell phones, not paying attention, crossing the
Yep.
street.
Yep.
Yep.
I have a perfect example of this. I was here in Boston and I was driving and I got to a stop sign and there was a crosswalk and there was this man walking across the crosswalk. He stopped in front of my car. He could have reached out and touched the hood of my car, but he was so in depth into his phone,
Oh
he was
my
typing
God.
away. He had no clue where he was. And so because I teach situational awareness, I
Right.
was amazed at this. So I started to count. Do you know I counted to 30 before I
Wow.
Oh
finished?
my
And
God.
as soon as must have pushed send, he looked up and he like looked at my face and goes, "Oh my God." And then he ran. And so that was leaving him vulnerable to be, a
Yeah.
Yeah.
or a victim of being hit by a car. He had no clue. But I go out into the world every single day and I look around and I find people who are not paying attention. And if I could just tell people, please pay attention because we have so many people that are injured and hurt by not paying attention, and we can prevent that. So have those
Yeah.
conversations with your family. Talk about situational awareness. Take one
Yeah.
of my classes, right? But we
Yes.
need to
Absolutely.
close that safety gap so we can be safer and more successful in this world.
I mean, it's
Yeah,
this should be in
boy.
every single
Every
school,
school.
from when you're young to
Yep.
when you're middle school to high
To
school.
college.
You know.
And and I would say along that vein, in my book, Study Abroad Safety, I talk about values and boundaries. And this is a really important conversation for everybody, all parents to have with their children because when was the last time somebody asked you what are your values? What are your
Right.
boundaries in life? And when you're leaving to go to college or, you're going to be experiencing all these new friends, new places, new parties, and you have to kind of take inventory about who you are so nobody can push you around. You
Yeah.
got to be true to yourself.
Mhm.
And,
So true.
and that's a really important thing for everybody, just take some
Yeah.
time and take an inventory and grow.
I love it.
So I know you're into a lot of teachings and books. So what would be a book that kind of inspired you that changed your life for the better? Is there a book?
Yes, yes. So I have two. It's The Gift of Fear by Galvin de Becker. I love that book. Every single person should read this book. It's just incredible. And the other book is The Ostrich Paradox. Why
Hmm.
why we
Right.
underprepare for disasters. Now,
Wow.
what's really interesting about that book, and I have it right here because I love it.
Wow.
I love this book so much. But what's interesting is even that situation over in New Orleans,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
they had the proper tools to prevent that
I
car
know.
from going down, and they didn't implement them. Well, interesting enough, they talk about New Orleans in this book, about how underprepared they were for the hurricane that came through.
Right.
Wow,
And what
right.
a disaster that was. And so the point is, when we have the opportunity to prepare, we can have the opportunity to be safer and more successful. And we
Yeah.
have to take that time. We can't under prepare.
It's so
That
true.
is,
I mean, every time I talk to you, I get so excited
yeah,
because I love, the awareness. I think, as a kid, I grew up where I was ultra aware, just always on lookout. Like, I don't know if it was a natural sense that I've always had, or I just didn't trust the outer world, in a lot of ways. And I just have always kind of, had more of the awareness. So
Yeah.
I love what you're saying.
Yeah, and I think it depends on where you're growing up. Are you growing up in a city? Are you growing up on a farm? Right?
Right.
There's so many different experiences for people across our country. So a city person might have more street smarts.
yes,
Yes.
Street
yes,
smarts is an amazing skill,
Yeah.
yeah, it is.
I think
right?
that's why
Definitely,
yeah,
definitely
yeah,
is. I
for
agree.
sure. No, I agree.
It's interesting when I moved away from, New York, and then I would go back in, and I was like so conscious the jewelry and crossing the streets, and it was like a whole new awareness that I was not used to,
Yeah.
Right.
you
And
know?
there's some countries that we go to that they drive on the opposite side of the road.
Yes.
Correct.
And this is why it's important to look right, left, and right again. Because,
Interesting.
sometimes people are stepping right out into traffic.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. So
So
if this is our last question that I love, it's one of my favorite is and it's a big one. If you were able to change the world, Carrie, as it is today, what changes would you make and why?
okay, let's see.
It's a loaded one.
This is a heavy one, but I would have to say I would want to stop gender violence. I would want to stop femicide. And this is a big issue around the world. And we have to understand that, we all are in charge of our safety and our security, but we have to work together because this is a really huge problem and it can be solved with, a lot of work. But, I would say gender violence, like, domestic violence,
Mhm.
interpersonal violence, there's a lot of issues. And we have to come with the power from within to make sure that we can stand up and speak up and step out away from this type of violence and have strategies, tools, and techniques and resources. I think I shared with you earlier, I worked years on a rape crisis hotline. I did the 24/7 hotline. I did community awareness and prevention. I did survivor speaker events where I would facilitate survivors to speak. We can do so much better, but we
Mhm.
also have to have the power within to
Yeah.
be able to recognize when we're in a situation. That's why I always say values and boundaries. If we have an opportunity to get to safety, we need to. And then if we can't, we have to have the resources to be able to call and reach out to somebody who can help you. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of people out there in this world that is willing and ready to help.
Yeah. Wow.
I tell you,
I can have you on another
yeah,
time. I swear we
wow.
could talk about another topic on the same around
Yeah,
safety
God.
because
Yeah,
There's
it's
so
an endless
much.
conversation, really. I
yeah,
mean,
It
it
there's
is.
really
so many
is.
pieces
It's
to
like
it.
pulling a thread, right? It just
Yes.
keeps coming.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh my God.
My granddaughter is going to college next year. She's a senior. And every time talk about one of these tools,
Yeah.
it's like I want to get her all the tools,
Right.
Yeah.
and keep
And
her
yeah.
conscious.
And they're not that expensive, but
Right.
her understanding that there is some type of device she can use under her door if she feels there's a need,
Yeah.
or if there's a need. And I always think back to Lake and Riley when she was out there jogging and that person attacked her
Mhm.
and she took her phone to call 911.
Right.
It got knocked out of her hand. And
Correct.
that's why if our girls are running and they have a little doodad like this and they just press it twice, this Invisaware can send a GPS location of where you are. Then your emergency contact can call you. If you don't answer, you could call the police and do a welfare check at that location. I
And
mean,
don't
that's
you, yeah, go
yeah.
ahead, sorry. And don't you think it's important if you're going to run, you run with a partner? I mean,
Yes, that's true, but it's not reality, right? And I
Mhm.
always teach this because oftentimes colleges and study abroad, they're like, just stay in a group. Well, that's unrealistic. We are going to run by ourselves. We are going to travel this world solo. And so
Mhm.
we just need to be prepared with these tools that can help us be
Yeah,
successful no
No,
matter
it's
where
true.
we are.
That's a great
that is.
point.
Yeah.
So, where can people get a hold
Find
of
you,
you?
get your book,
Yes,
get
and
your
ask you to come and
programs.
speak.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're the best.
Sign up
Okay, so
today.
people can find me at globalsecureresources.com. They can find me on Facebook, same thing, Global Secure Resources. I'm on Instagram, Global Secure. They can find my book on Amazon. And that book, I tell you, every parent from middle school on should have this book, whether their child is going to study abroad or not, because I cover domestic violence, interpersonal violence. I cover values and boundaries, the way you can start these safety conversations, because your kid, you want them safe around the corner and the world. And that's
Yes.
what's in this book. So you can grab it
Yeah.
on Amazon. I'm so thrilled to be here.
Oh, we're
Oh, we
so
are
happy.
so
And by the way, I
excited.
did get your book, and I plan on giving it also to my niece.
Oh, fabulous. They're going
Yeah.
to love it. They're
Oh,
Yes.
just going to love it.
she is
Yeah.
gonna love it. Yeah.
Oh
So we
God,
are.
it was so great having you. My
Yeah.
God, you must come on again. You're
Yeah, we're
just
gonna
so,
have you on again
yeah,
because,
it's so
and
full of
we'll pick
information.
another,
Yeah,
situationals or whatever.
it's so
Yeah.
important.
Because we really need to educate
Yes.
people out there on the safety and the risk and how they can prevent it.
Right.
I mean,
And
that's
it's always being prepared, not scared.
yes.
Right?
That's
Because
good.
again, like you're saying, if you're prepared, you're going to be less fearful
Right.
because you have a plan in place, right? Your
That's
mind
right.
knows where it's going to go.
Right.
Love it.
Exactly.
I love it. I could
Thank
speak to you for
Yeah,
hours.
I know.
So we're going to have you on again.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes.
But
We need to
until
hear
then,
more.
show your book again
Yes.
for everybody to see it so they know. That's great. It's on
Study
Amazon.
abroad safe.
I got it. Get it
Yeah.
today. It's going to rock your world. Give
Thank
it to
you.
give it to all the people that are
Yes.
going to college. Give it to anyone, really.
Anybody. 'Cause
Really.
I think everybody
Everybody
can use it.
can use it.
It's
Seriously.
like a good handbook for
And-
everybody.
And do one of your programs, which will
Yeah.
help people
Definitely.
tremendous.
Yeah, I'm hosting right now 4 times a year this solo savvy traveler to build confidence for our travelers. That's going to be a lot of fun. That's an amazing
Cool.
Sounds
course.
amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is.
So we will
We
have you on
thank you.
again. We thank you for coming
And
on.
we love
And
you.
of course, we love you.
I love you.
And feel better because we know
Yes,
you're
feel
a little
good.
little
Yeah.
cold,
Under
but
the
feel
weather,
better.
but thank you for coming on.
Absolutely.
We'll have you on back
Yes.
real soon, everybody. So go to Carrie's, go to Facebook, go to Instagram,
Mhm.
and click and find her and get what she has and get her book.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're
Thank
so
you.
welcome.
Bye.
Bye.